Pandemonium has broken out here on Elvis Presley Boulevard in Memphis. Thousands of fans from all over the country are converging on Graceland, trying to get in to view the body of the 42-year-old king of rock and roll.
When I was 10 years old, my mother and daddy loved him. And I just say I was raised on him. There's nobody else like him. There won't ever be anybody else like him as far as I'm concerned.
The world is shocked by Elvis Presley's sudden death after attempts to save his life failed. The apparent cause, according to his personal physician, Dr. George Nicopolis, is a heart attack.
I just can't believe he's dead. It's terrible. But I just thank God that Elvis died here at Graceland instead of on the road just like any other rock and roll singer.
1977, Elvis Presley's sudden death stunned the world, but it also sealed off the attic of Graceland indefinitely. 2025, after a decades-long wait, it's finally opened. What they discovered wasn't just personal artifacts, it was an emotional time capsule filled with warnings, farewells, and deeply personal truths. Why were these secrets hidden for so long, and how do they forever change the story of Elvis Presley? Let's explore the moments frozen in time, just waiting to be told. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now, back to the video. Why would an attic in one of the most famous homes in the world remain sealed for decades? The answer to that question begins on one of the most turbulent days in music history, August 16th, 1977. The day Elvis Presley died wasn't just the loss of rock and roll's first true icon, it was the day Graceland, his beloved Memphis estate, transformed from home to legend. In the hours after Elvis was pronounced dead, Graceland was consumed by chaos. Fans and media swarmed the gates, desperate for any glimpse or memento of the king. It wasn't unusual to see people sitting on the lawn, openly weeping, or leaving behind candles, photos, and hastily written letters. The mansion at that point wasn't just a private residence anymore. It was becoming a shrine. The Presley family, still in deep shock, had little time to grieve as the world's attention zeroed in on them. Security at Graceland was hurriedly tightened, and staff scrambled to remove personal items from public view. Inside the home, the atmosphere must have been surreal. Press conferences took place in the living room, while upstairs, Elvis's untouched bedroom and private spaces were almost frozen in time. These weren't just rooms, they were deeply personal areas of his life, containing the kind of intimate belongings no one had seen except a tight circle of family and friends. But the turmoil didn't stop there. Just 2 days after Elvis was laid to rest, something shocking happened. A group of men, one of them reportedly linked to a Memphis criminal ring, attempted to steal Elvis's coffin from its resting place. It was a foiled plan, but it sent shockwaves through both the Presley family and Memphis authorities. For fans, it sounded like something out of a bizarre heist movie. But for Elvis's loved ones, it was a stark reminder that even in death, the king would never truly be left in peace. The Presley family's response was immediate. Security was increased at Graceland, and many parts of the home, including the attic, were permanently sealed. The decision wasn't just about stopping intruders or keeping valuables safe. It was about preserving whatever personal moments and untold stories Elvis left behind. His private world had become vulnerable in a way it never had been before, and the family knew they needed to protect it. Over the years, the attic became less of a storage space and more of a myth. What could possibly be inside? Fans speculated endlessly. Some believed it held priceless mementos, handwritten lyrics, rare recordings, letters, or even rumored goodbye notes Elvis might have written in his final days. Others thought it might contain unreleased music or gifts from famous friends like the Beatles or Frank Sinatra. Beyond the mystery, the attic became symbolic, a representation of a part of Elvis's life the rest of the world was never allowed to touch. Decades after Elvis's death, the unthinkable almost happened. In early 2024, Graceland, the most famous home in America, faced an alarming threat. It came not from intruders or natural disaster, but from a legal battle that nearly stripped it from the Presley family forever. The fight began when a company named Nosen Investments and Private Lending, LLC, claimed that Riley Keough, Elvis's granddaughter and the heir to his estate, had defaulted on a loan, giving them grounds to auction off Graceland. It wasn't just shocking, it was unimaginable. For millions of people, losing Graceland entirely would have meant losing the last tangible connection to Elvis Presley. The reaction was swift and heated. Fans from all corners of the world took to social media, started petitions, and flooded news outlets with statements of disbelief. In Memphis, the outrage was deeply personal. Graceland wasn't just an estate, it was an economic and cultural lifeline for the city. For decades, millions of tourists passed through those gates, and its place in Memphis's identity was irreplaceable. The very thought of a private company taking control of the estate left locals and fans alike questioning how something so monumental could even be threatened in the first place. As legal analysts weighed in, the stakes came into sharper focus. Losing Graceland wouldn't just harm Elvis's family, it would represent a cultural loss on a massive scale. One legal expert noted that Graceland is unlike anything else. It's more than a home, it's an icon. That sentiment echoed among fans who pointed out that Graceland carried pieces of history far beyond four walls. Its rooms were not just filled with furniture or antiques, they were filled with moments, with memories of a man whose voice shook the world. To them, this wasn't just property, it was sacred. The timing of the lawsuit was especially eerie because public interest in Elvis's life was already surging. Between biopics and the rediscovery of his music by younger audiences, Elvis Presley was no longer just a nostalgic act of the past. He was being reintroduced to a new generation. This legal battle magnified those feelings, prompting renewed focus on everything Elvis left behind, including the possessions and treasures speculated to be hidden within the walls of Graceland. Questions resurfaced about what aspects of his legacy had been kept secret, and what might come to light if those barriers ever came down. The intensity reached its boiling point in April 2024, as the scheduled auction drew near. Just one day before Graceland was set to be sold off to the highest bidder, a Tennessee judge intervened. In a dramatic ruling, the judge blocked the auction and issued a statement calling Graceland a one-of-a-kind cultural asset that deserved protections not typically afforded to private property. The judge emphasized that selling Graceland to private investors would result in irreparable harm to the public and the estate's historical integrity. The ruling was a monumental victory for Riley Keough and the Presley family, but its implications went further. It reignited not just a focus on preserving the estate, but on the storytelling behind it. The court case reminded people that Graceland wasn't some static museum of the past. Protecting it meant continuing to explore the depths of Elvis's legacy, including the artifacts, letters, and symbols of his life still left untouched. It was around this time that internal family discussions turned again to the attic, the area sealed since Elvis's death. The decision to reopen it felt like a natural extension of the broader effort to preserve Elvis's humanity, not as a mythical figure, but as a man who left unanswered messages in the house he called home. For fans, hearing that the attic would finally be opened felt surreal. The legal action, which had almost stripped Graceland away from the Presley family entirely, resulted in something unexpected, a moment of reconnection. What was almost lost forever became the fuel for rediscovering untold stories inside those locked walls. What lay waiting in that attic represented not just Elvis's private world, but the enduring fight to keep Elvis Presley's multifaceted legacy alive. The opening of Elvis's attic wasn't just about the items inside, it was about reconnecting with the man behind the legend. Among the discoveries were handwritten lyrics, intimate photographs, and even a worn teddy bear from his early days. These weren't grand treasures meant for display, they were deeply personal keepsakes, reminders of the boy who became the king. A Bible gifted by his mother, still intact, carried an emotional weight that words couldn't match. These details didn't just tell a story, they brought Elvis back to life. What moment struck you most? Let us know in the comments below. Stay tuned.